Hello, listeners of the Art Versations podcast. I hope you all had a really great week and that you're taking care of yourself and the people you love most in your life. It's the holiday season. We got to spread the love. I'm your host, Bri, like the cheese. And this week I wanted to give a quick shout out to a podcast I've been listening to recently called Tink Thank Show. It's hosted by Gabe, Henry, and James. James I met this summer at the Performing Arts Project. The podcast centers around one topic each episode, a topic normally people wouldn't talk about. And it surprised me how much I actually learned in one episode. It's educational, it's fun, and I think you should definitely check it out. Apple and Spotify. As for my podcast, this time I was able to bring on Kat Sinclair. Kat wears many hats, as you'll see in the episode, but mainly she's a stage manager and is at Ryerson University for a BFA in performance production. We geek out a lot about theater, so beware of that, but I definitely think you'll enjoy it.
David Bowie is like my version of God. He is my absolute hero. Between him and Elton John, I think they're like my fathers. They had a love child, and I came out very late.
Hi, Kat.
Hi, Bri. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Of course.
I appreciate the time. I know it's the end of the semester, so we finally have a little bit of room to breathe, but taking the time to come out is really, especially because you live a little bit farther away from campus.
Yeah, but anything for you.
Thank you.
No worries.
You know I love you. You know I absolutely adore everything that you do. We both have really, it's a bit of an obsession with Sebastian Stan, I would say.
You can't get enough of that, man. Have you seen the trailer for The Last Full Measure yet?
Is this his new movie?
It looks incredible.
Oh my god. Is he playing his usual, like, rugged...
It's his lead role. He's playing, like...
The bad boy.
He's playing a lawyer.
Oh my god.
He's going after,
That's even better.
This case that nobody wants to touch. So it's like it's a bad boy lawyer almost. Mm-hmm. And it's really interesting. It's his first like leading role in a Hollywood film.
Yeah.
So all of his hardcore fans are really excited for him.
And then of course the like Falcon and Bucky, aren't they doing like a little team up show?
Yeah, the Disney Plus. Yeah, Disney Plus has everything going on.
Oh my gosh, do you have it?
I don't, but my sister does, so I kind of like nooch.
Yeah.
You know.
I need to get it. I feel like it would just be the ultimate binge session.
We could split it.
Okay, there we go.
There we go. Check mark. Yeah. That's the only reason I came here today.
Let's talk art. I wanted to ask you if you've seen anything recently. I know we just came off our show, Dances, but like any art or any media or anything that just sort of sparked your interest recently.
I have seen a lot of Changing Steps. You're absolutely correct, but I think we'll get into that later.
A lot.
I don't know if it's recently, but in October I saw the Soulpepper production of A Streetcar Named Desire.
Yes, okay.
And that was just, it's a classic, like everyone has seen some adaptation of it, but it was such a fresh take on it. And it was the new artistic director, and it was really like a refresh for the company, and I found that so brilliantly done. I thought I would hate it. Sorry, Wayne, if you're listening. I thought I would hate your production, but it was so incredible. Just the way they almost switched it on its head and really made it palpable. Like the audience felt like they were involved. I felt condemned after. When Blanche is taken away. I was like, I want to do something. I want to be up there, and that was really like, it felt really good to see that.
It's kind of nice when you like see a show that you really feel a part of in some way. Is that how you felt?
Yeah, I felt involved, and because of the content, you almost feel ostracized because you're watching all of these terrible things happen to this woman. You're watching her deteriorate, and you want to help her. But I think that was the power of the show, because you're watching, you want to be involved, but you're also taken out by, I'm a bystander. And that's really how that story is in the world right now, especially in the world right now.
Yeah. when you see all of this horrible stories on the news, we can't really, like, if it's a faraway place, we can't really put into action
of course.
what we want to do to help.
And I think especially with Soulpepper's recent past and the issues that they've had, it was a really bold move to do Streetcar, and I appreciate Wayne's boldness. That's a terrible, for lack of a better word, but she really was like, well, if we're going to go there, we're going to go there, and she did it in a very powerful way.
Lovely. I've never actually seen Streetcar on stage.
Well, I recommend it. If it comes back, we'll go together. But even the movie, like, did you know the movie is actually a word for word stage action to stage action adaptation of the Broadway show?
I didn't know that.
That was the reason the movie was so important in its time, is because they just took the stage, and of course they used more locales than a stage would have.
Okay.
But they really took the stage production and put it on film. And they used mostly the same cast. Marlon Brando was
right,
there.
yeah, I was going to say.
Doing such an incredible job. I'm sorry, but Marlon Brando, can we just for a second?
Yeah, actually, we can talk about
Marlon
him.
Brando.
Yeah.
People give him such crap nowadays for The Godfather and for, like, the recent roles he's had, but he was, like, integral in how performers perform these days. He took such a raw approach to a man that, honestly, anyone could hate. Anyone could hate Stanley Kowalski, and he really, like, gave it a boyish charm, gave it a almost innocence that is kind of scary at points, and I think that's what made him the backbone of that entire story. And I could go on for ages and ages about Marlon Brando, but going back to Sebastian Stan, I think that's what he does as well. So.
Maybe he's our generation's Marlon Brando.
I think so.
Maybe. It's funny that you talk about Marlon like that, because I was listening to a podcast that Joe Rogan put out with Edward Norton, the guy who played Hulk for just that one little movie.
That little moment in time.
And they were talking about Marlon as in the same way of, like, he's literally influenced the people that have come after him to act a certain way or to be a celebrity in a certain way. I haven't seen the movie. I should now, because I mean, that's really cool that it was, like, from the stage to film, and how, because I find that adaptation and that switch can be really tricky.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? So that's dope. And
I think that's something a lot of people are doing the reverse of nowadays, like trying to take a movie and putting it on stage, and sometimes it goes really well. Like,
do we want to talk about the SpongeBob musical?
Let's talk about the SpongeBob musical, because it's coming in a couple of weeks.
For 1 week only, though.
Oh, it's a limited engagement. You better get your seats. The small things I've seen of it, I appreciate the folly, especially, like, having that SpongeBob-esque elements of, the sounds and the special effects, but oh my gosh. It's one step below the David Hasselhoff SpongeBob movie for me. It's just a little bit laughable.
Yeah.
What do you think? I want to know your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen it. I've seen clips. I've heard songs. I think it's really cool that the soundtrack or the cast album is, like, a mixture of different composers from pop music.
Panic! Disco.
Right? Like, that's
Sarah
cool.
Bareilles do a song?
Yeah.
That's really pulling from
some
a
rock
successful area.
Yeah, like, I think that's kind of neat that they didn't just have one person doing the music or one person doing the lyrics, like, using a plethora of people and different influences.
But I almost fear that splits their motif, that really, because what I've heard of the soundtrack, every song feels very different, and I would have loved if it was just a touch more unified, because I do love that aspect of having all of the different genres, all of these different influences.
Right.
But if they had one person to just connect everything and to put it into a more digestible area.
That's true. Because what's really lovely about musicals is that there are, like, reprises and callbacks to like certain musical sounds. I think the SpongeBob musical definitely is, like, a 2018, 2019, like, sound.
It's a product of its time.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And maybe also the audience of SpongeBob, like, that's us. We grew up on him. Like, maybe that's where we're headed. I don't know. It's definitely, like, a fandom to, like, another part of the fandom, maybe, but I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Like, I really don't have a lot of love for it. That's
I want to appreciate what they're doing, but I would love to see some original content. Like,
yes, absolutely. We've talked about this before.
You just see so many, like, Clueless, Jagged Little Pill, Moulin Rouge. Everything's coming out with a musical, and I'm like, that's great. However, can I have that backroom indie musical on stage, please?
Yeah.
Can I have this original content or original story that I haven't heard before? That would be wonderful.
I couldn't agree more. I wonder if it's because of just New York audiences are usually tourists, so when they come and they're like, I don't really know what this play is going to be like or this show is going to be like, they kind of want to reference. They want
a recognizable name. And
yeah.
Especially, like, if you're in marketing, you want to be able to sell a nostalgia factor or sell something that somebody knows. And I will go against myself. I absolutely love Beetlejuice. I think it is an excellent show.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think Alex Brightman is incredible.
So good. I don't know who they're going to find to replace him.
He's the only person that can do that with his voice that I know of.
And actually, what's interesting about Beetlejuice, we're jumping around, but, like, they do a bunch of live performances on, like, Good Morning America. They just did the Thanksgiving parade, and they change the lyrics.
Absolutely. They change it every single time.
That is so professionally cool,
and every single time Alex Brightman calls out Al Roker, I really think he wants his number, and I support you, Alex Brightman. But absolutely, and I think from recent date, they're the only people that have had their entire cast in their Tony performance, including standbys, including understudies. They've had every single person involved.
You're kidding.
So I think it's lovely, and you can see in their backstage videos. I know Leslie Kritzer does a lot of backstage videos.
Yes.
They're really a unified team, and I would just love to be a part of that. Please let me manage you. Please I will pay to be there. Let me assistant manage you, something like that. That'd be incredible.
Isn't that just, like, the best feeling when you are, like, on a show with people that you actually care about and you can take care of each other, you can laugh on your off times?
Absolutely.
I mean, this is a great segue. Like, I feel like we had that with Changing Steps.
Oh, 100%. Changing Steps has been... And I've had the pleasure of working with a lot of casts. I've had the opportunities to work with small cast, large cast. I think our cast was the perfect size to have that sort of vibe. And I can say without blushing, I'm going to look at you dead in the eyes right now. You guys can't see us. This was the best cast I've ever worked with. We felt balanced, we felt unified, even though we obviously had our struggles. I think we really stuck together, and Cunningham, and you can attest to this, is not exactly easy.
It's not. My body hurts.
It's not something that you can pick up very quickly. It's something that you need to work at, and I feel like just watching you guys work and reminding you gently to take care of yourselves, I think we really bonded, and we got to a place where I'm not going to forget you guys for a really long time.
The picture of us on, like, one of the first days that you took, I put it right up against my mirror. Like, I just needed it there. It kind of reminded me also of, like, the journey that we had, and yes, it was not easy. We were all very tired, falling asleep during rehearsals, or like when the other cast was rehearsing, just, like, stretching and trying to take care of ourselves. But I'm so grateful to have had the struggle, like, in a weird way. I'm not saying I'm in love with the struggle, but it really was like a way to attack and try
a growing
and
pain.
Fail.
Yeah, like I failed a lot in my approach to it. Cunningham is very codified, but you never want to, especially as a stage manager, you never want to fall into the habits that you have of knowing where to call it, knowing where to, if you guys switch a sequence, that's a change in the mood. It really isn't. You want the changes to be randomized. You want the changes to be, as much as they are, this is where it's going to happen, you want it to be randomized. You want it to feel different every day. And that's something that I really had to learn. And that's something that especially Dylan had to, like, we sat down and had many conversations about. It's never going to be perfect, lined up. It's never going to be structured in that sense, and it is very structured, but it's structured differently, and I think it was structured differently for you guys as well.
Yeah, it was very spur of the moment. Even though we knew the moves, they didn't feel the same every time. And then having someone stage manage that, like, working with us so that it doesn't feel like we're not on the same page, you know. We of course we can't talk about this without talking about Dylan Crossman, our stager. Obviously Merce Cunningham is not with us anymore, so Dylan came in and with the Merce Trust, he works to stage this work and play around with it while paying homage to it. What fascinated me a lot about Dylan's approach is that he really had all the notes there that he needed. Like, he would refer back to the archivals or the archives that they've created at the Merce Trust. And I think that really helped us stay geared on what Merce would have wanted if he was still here, and John Cage, the composer of the music. But then, you know, Dylan is a little bit younger than Merce is, so there's a bit more of a youthful feeling to it, and we were able to work together to create something completely fresh and new, I think. Yeah.
I feel like Merce and John, and I think you can attest to this as well, they were almost in the room with us. I think we always refer back to, like,
yes,
what would they think of this? How would they approach this?
Yeah.
Even philosophically, not even regarding the moves or the production, just how would they approach this when I'm dead tired and I don't know how to do this anymore? How would they approach this when my personal life is having some issues? So I really think they were a part of our cast. They were the 15th and 16th member of the cast.
Definitely.
So, I can't say enough words about Dylan Crossman. Like, you know this. And every time you're in a room, especially as a stage manager, you have to find the way to work with your manager, with your stager, with your director, with your producer. You have to find the language that they speak, and I think I'm very lucky that Dylan and I just had such an ease of working together. We really trusted each other almost shockingly off the bat. Like, we got in the room and there was, like, I felt like I've known him longer than I have in a professional sense.
Oh, that's so lovely.
I can't say enough good words about him. You know, I think he changed all of us. He changed the way we look at being dancers, managers, designers. He changed the way we looked at being artists and, frankly, at how we look at being people. And he really did do a great job of bringing someone only he's met. When he coming into our room, he really brought Merce into the room with him, and I think Merce would be very proud of the work that he's doing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And
is someone knocking on the door?
Who's knocking on my door?
I don't know. It's a little bit loud out there. Anyways, yes.
It's a knock life for us.
Yes. I think you're right. I think Dylan did a really great job of, like, oh my gosh, what's going on?
At least we know them.
Oh, okay.
Hi, actors.
Oh, they're actors.
Are you guys okay?
Oh, yeah, we just have a room booked.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Not this one, though, right?
No, next
Okay.
door, actually.
Kick them out. Do it. I believe in you.
A little visit from the actor, the third year actors.
Oh, you know, our
Nice.
school is so small. Even when you're in the biggest building on campus, you can find somebody.
No, that was kind of nice, though, because that literally would be, like, if you're trying to work on something, like, people come and interrupt you in the best way. Like, they come and say hi. We were talking about Dylan. Yeah, I think, like, I think you're right. I think he definitely brought the energy of Merce into the room. And we were only with him for, like, 3 weeks. Out of the whole 2.5-month process that is Dances, the show that we put on in the fall here at Ryerson, it feels like even when he was gone, like, I wanted to refer back to what I learned from him, and when he was here, I was trying to absorb so much, and I felt really, like, present with him, and I wanted to learn from him. Like, I felt like I was trying to be like the best student that I could because I knew he wasn't going to be with us the whole time.
Yeah, and I think knowing that made everyone in the room just try to soak it up as much as possible.
Absolutely.
And every day it was like, okay, what do you have to say to us? We're listening. We want to know. Tell us everything you can. Especially in the later weeks, we only had an hour of rehearsal here and there. So every time it was just, please give me knowledge. Tell me your wisdom. And he would always say, Merce is so wise. Here's what Merce would say. And I'm like, I don't think he realizes how much he's really emulating that as well. Like he's, I don't want to say he's our Merce, but he really was in a way.
Yeah. The best, representation that we could have had, I think.
And he would never say that.
No.
Never.
Dylan is also very modest and very down to earth, I found.
That
Go ahead.
was... I think we both have so much to say about
We
this.
do.
He was the most modest I'd ever say. I would just be like, hey, how are you? And he would tell me, oh, the show's doing great, this is what's going on. I'm like, but no, also, how are you? Like, I really want to know how you're doing. And he always put the show first, and he was always so... Like, he was always very aware of, like, the show comes first. And then when we get down on a personal level, I'll be like, okay, how are you doing? Because you're the one that just flew across country. You're the one that's putting up 3 different shows this week.
That's right.
What's going on?
Yeah. He was really busy when he was here.
Oh, very busy. So I'm very glad that we got the time that we did.
Absolutely.
It's a nice segue into that. Last day we saw Dylan, AGO. I think that was an incredible experience.
Tell me about that, because I wasn't there. I didn't get to go.
It was... I think we were all a little bit in some sort of fantasy. I don't think any of us fully believed that we were there. Because the AGO, like, if you're from Toronto, if you're from Ontario, you know the AGO. You know that it feels like a very fancy, very fanciful place. And getting to perform there... And I didn't get to perform. I didn't get to call anything because we obviously didn't have the facilities that we have at the Ryerson Theatre. But everyone was just in a daze the entire time. And then when they got in their costumes, I think it felt a little bit more real. And even then, Dylan was working with his other cast. And I think I'm still digesting it, to be honest.
That's okay.
Like,
Yeah.
Getting to
It means
say...
it was probably very impactful.
Getting to say that I worked at the AGO, getting to say that I worked with this cast at the AGO, and getting to watch them kind of walk around. It was almost like walking around with your kids at Disneyland. Like, they were really trying to soak it in, and then they did such an excellent job. We sold over 2,000 tickets.
Yeah, what?
It was absolutely packed.
I didn't know it was going to be that big of an audience.
It was a huge audience trying to... Because I walked them onto the stage, and then I walked out to where my post would be. And I was stepping over people, just trying to be like, let's get the show on the road. You want to see it, but we really got to move in here. And they were still letting people in as we were performing. The line was around the block, I think.
Wow.
Like, that just really shows how impactful Merce's work has been to a very wide breadth of people. And also the security guard almost tried to kick me out. And I was like, I work here.
Kind of.
I promise I'm doing my job. I think I'm still digesting it, but it was absolutely incredible. And I think it's something that we're going to look back on for a really long time.
I mean, I've seen little pictures. I know that the space that you had to perform in was, like, very architecturally beautiful. There was, like, a big skylight at the top of the skylight.
It was really, I think it was modeled, and this is not going to be an accurate description, I think it was modeled after a solar system of sorts, so it had the sun in the center, and it really had different planets around. And the space was almost, I would say, it was less than a quarter. It wasn't an eighth, but it was less than a quarter of what we have here.
Really?
So it was really a lot of in the space, respacing everything, and making sure that it worked. And the cast did such an incredible job of being adaptable and being open to changes and
That's good.
changing steps. Really making sure that they were putting on the best show possible. And again, I don't think anyone really realized it happened until we were in the cabs getting back to the space, because we did 2 shows that day, back to back.
Crazy.
And we were in the Cavs Again Bachelor space, and we were all like, we just did a show at the AGO. We just did a show to like 2,000 people.
The Art Gallery of Ontario.
A ridiculous space. An absolutely beautiful space.
So cool.
You know, some spaces you work in, you don't really like register that you worked in them, and then you kind of look at them from the outside and you're like, that was my office for the day. Like, I think about working at Honest Ed's way, way, way back in the day when
Great
it still
segue.
existed.
Just had to say it. Just had to say it.
Way, way, way back in the day when it still existed. Now it is a pile of rubble, much to my chagrin. But working there, I was in my first year, and I was an unpaid event technician, but you couldn't have paid me enough money to work there. Like, I would have done that paying other people for the opportunity. It was just after the building had closed, and we were doing what's called, I think it's called an honest farewell. It has been a couple of years. It was an honest farewell from Toronto for everyone. And a couple of fourth years at that time were doing it as their thesis project.
Oh, no way.
So it was really interesting. I'm still thinking about my thesis. I don't know what that's going to be.
I don't know either. I have no idea.
But they called me and they were like, hey, listen, can you just be in the space, help us? So I ended up working, like, I would go and fix some of the shelving. So I'd be a carpenter. I would build an accessible entrance. I had to build an accessible entrance.
You're kidding.
They didn't have an accessible entrance for Honest Ed's.
Oh, well, I guess because it was such an old building,
It
but
was like it was almost a historic site, so I don't think they were allowed to change it. What was really interesting
Did you build a ramp?
Yeah.
Out of what?
Everything we built, we didn't buy anything. Everything
Okay.
we built was taken from what they already had in the space. So it was scrap wood from store displays. We brought our own tools, but it was like scrap wood. It was old shelving, and it ended up working really well. And it was pretty cool. But the coolest thing about that building was that because they weren't using it after we were done, we could kick holes in the wall if we wanted to run cable through. We could do a lot in the space just to make it work.
Play around with it a bit.
Yeah, but like thinking about that, it's still fantastical that I got to work in a space that I used to go to every weekend with my grandmother. And I think it's something a very small group of people will be able to say that they did, that they got to walk around inside the walls of Honest Ed's. Actually, inside the walls, it was very dusty. You found a lot of things in there.
Well, what place that holds a lot of people isn't dusty?
Oh,
I mean, our Ryerson Theater was just
we did our
gross.
best. Okay.
I'm sorry, but every time I would come off, like, during even, like, Elisa Pyre's piece, and I would, like, have to, like, sniff away, like, all of the mucus.
You guys also had ash. You also had...
We did have a lot of stuff.
The furnace turning on because it was early November, and we don't have no control over that, so
I know.
did my best, Brianna.
Oh my god, I'm not blaming you at all.
I know you're not.
It's actually,
just
like...
dramatic.
I wouldn't be in a theater if it wasn't, like, dusty and a bit, like,
if your theater is too
ragged.
clean,
Yeah.
you haven't had enough history happen. Like, when I'm working at... I love this place. I love this job, so don't get me wrong if you're listening. But when you're at St. Michael's College working in their Center for the Arts, it is so clean, it is so pristine, everything had this place. But it's almost like, you guys haven't had much happen in here, have you?
Ah, I see.
There's a lot of history in the Ryerson Theater. There's a lot of history in the AGO, and Honest Ed's, and I worked in the Winter Garden for a little bit. There's a lot of history there. So I almost like the grimy... I could do without the sneezing.
Yeah.
But I really like a...
Tell me about, because I know the Winter Garden is half the Elgin Theater.
Yes.
What's it like to have two, like, theaters in one building?
So, history fact. It was originally 2 theaters.
Yeah.
Actually, scratch that.
Okay.
It was originally 1 theater.
Okay.
And then they built another theater on top and made it a Cineplex.
Oh.
So they had multiple layers, and that's why there's all the escalators in there. It was a very modern for the 90s building.
Cool.
And then for a good while it sat untouched. Because no one was using that theater. There was a theater up on Carlton, there was a theater at Dundas Square. It was kind of a useless space. And then they turned it back into the Elgin and the Winter Garden, restored it to its original architecture, and it is absolutely beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
I worked in there for Greece as a runner. And being a runner is very interesting when you're used to being a manager, being told to go get the things instead of telling people to go get the things. Gave me a lot of, it made me very humble.
Okay.
So, the Winter Garden is absolutely wonderful to work in, and if you get a chance, I would suggest it vehemently. The Elgin is also very beautiful. I know Come From Away is in there, wasn't there. I think they just moved.
Yeah, I was watching them pack up the other day.
Yeah, that is an excellent cast. If you get a chance to meet them, work with them, they're absolutely brilliant.
I saw Come From Away about in June of 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's been long running now.
So maybe not the same cast, but like...
I think it's mostly the same cast.
Mostly the same cast?
Like,
Well, I loved
it. Steffi D.
Who I used to live next to, which is so funny.
D. Domenico Cantonio. Never...
Nice.
I'm sorry, Steffi.
Steffi D.
You.
I knew her from Canadian Idol. I used to watch her. She was on Canadian Idol. She was Steffi D on Canadian Idol. I was like, that's my neighbor.
Canadian Idol used to be so cool. I don't know whatever happened to it.
Canadian Idol.
Kevin Vindal, who is like my absolute hero. He gave me my pre-show ritual, which we did all the time.
Got your back.
Got your back. That was a brilliant experience.
Very cool. You've touched many places. You've been a part of different things, and I think that's really admirable. And you wear a lot of hats too.
Oh yes,
which is also very respectable. And
I think you have to in this industry.
Yeah.
You really have to learn. And it's partly like a hireable thing, just trying to get all the experience that you can market yourself in different ways. But it's also like to get an appreciation. Like watching what you guys do, I really appreciate what you guys do as dancers, watching what Dylan did as a stager, watching what Louis did as a rehearsal director. It's really a matter of making sure you know exactly the environment you're working in and what everyone's up against, because we're all up against something.
We have to help each other.
Yeah.
It's a very stressful thing. It can be very stressful, at least.
We had our fair share of moments, but I think we got there pretty well, all in one piece.
4 years later. Did you think you were going to finish your degree when you came?
Every single year, about this time, I've said to myself, that's it, we're done. And I think it's partly because I've had so many wonderful experiences working at Mervish briefly, working at Honest Ed's, working at Grease, working at et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I've always been like, well, I don't need this. I don't need this. And every year I find myself more and more grateful that I stuck around.
Like you don't need your degree because you've had work experience.
I was very naive in that, like, I don't need this. This isn't worth it for me anymore.
Yeah.
But it is something that you kind of have to swallow your pride and be like, well, I am good at my job. There's always room to grow. There's always more things to learn. And if I had dropped out last year, I wouldn't have gotten the experience I have on Changing Steps, which has changed me, which has made me a better artist.
There you go. That's hard to know, right? Like,
it really is.
Because if you had gotten, and you've worked so much, but if you've gotten a job that had like brought you out of Toronto or something, like, do you say yes, or do you, because our industry and our line of work isn't necessarily academic throughout. Like, people, yes, have studied it for years, and I'm not saying that it has to, it's not just like anyone can be an artist, but I do believe that anyone can be an artist if they want to. And so it's your choice if you'd like to like really study it from a educational academic point of view, or just try and work and keep working, and then you'll find it out. I think and definitely as a dancer, I definitely think that those two options are easily like where people could go.
And I think it's a decision that is hard to make, and it's a decision that you'll go back and forth on. But
totally.
I do think that this has been worth my while, getting a degree, and it'll put your foot further into the door. Yeah. And especially at the Ryerson School of Performance, you really do get a lot of opportunities to make yourself a more qualified artist, make yourself a more well-rounded artist. Like, I came into this school thinking I wanted to be a carpenter, and now I'll still do carpentry. I'm more than happy to. but stage management is where I lie. Stage management is my passion. It's what I want to do with my life. And I don't think I would have gotten that if I hadn't come here. So if anything, that's the thing I'm grateful for.
I think I feel the same way. I was really into contemporary dance for a lot of my life, and I realized coming here that I love theater in all of its forms. Like, and I think you come to school with one opinion and you'll leave with another, and maybe that's okay.
And it's also something with age, I suppose. Like I came here straight from high school, and I think you did too. So I had a very idealistic view of, I'm going to get there, it's going to be super great, I'm going to get my degree, and then I'm going to go out in the world and I'm going to get all the jobs I want. And this school has, if anything, made me a better person and made me a more mature person, and that I know if I graduate, when I graduate.
It hasn't happened yet, I guess.
When I graduate. It may not be that easy, it may not be that simple of walking out into the world and getting a job, but I feel more prepared for it, and I feel more able to sell myself in a marketable way. I'll say a lot of things against the current school system, but I'm happy that I'm a part of it in those ways.
Aw. That's really nice to hear.
I also got to meet Bri Clarke at school, so I'm very happy with that.
I'm so happy I met you. And then we got to work together like multiple times.
2 years in a row?
We worked on just dances, I guess, together then.
Yeah, we worked on Urge.
With Hannah Keel.
We worked on Changing Steps, and I had a very small hand in Elisa Pyre's piece. A very, very small hand. I'll give all the credit to you guys.
Because you weren't on choreo in second year.
No, I've been on 3 dance shows in a row, which I am very grateful for. Again, I thought I came in here wanting to only work on straight drama. And
look at that. Look at that.
If I hadn't come here, I would have been a very different artist. But yeah, we met. I think we really became friends last year because we worked together and because we were put into an interesting situation. And we've both grown, and we've both grown together.
Definitely.
I'm not going to get too sappy, but I really like you.
I love Kat Sinclair.
I don't know who that is. Who's that woman?
Who is she?
I've always thought about, what it would be like to have a stage name.
Oh, yeah? Oh, my God, tell me
Because
about
Kat's not my name. Kat's a very, very short form of my actual human name. My given name. I shouldn't say human. I mean, I want to be an alien, but I haven't achieved that quite yet. Would you take a stage name if you became the superstar I think you're going to be?
I've always loved the name Daphne. I thought that would be a fun name.
Daphne's pretty cool. Daphne from Scooby-Doo?
Yeah, something like that.
She was iconic. I'm sorry, those outfits. Yes, queen.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think it's spelt really weirdly, and like whenever, and whenever we're in class or something, and I don't know, I've taken a lot of classes where they ask you to make up a new name for yourself. I always pick that name. I'm like, she's kind of like my alter ego. Yeah. But I don't know who she is.
I think I'm forming an alter ego. I don't know if I'd ever actually take it, but I've always liked the idea. This is gonna sound very weird. I like the name Thursday.
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah.
And it's also a callback because David Bowie is my version of God. He is my absolute hero. Between him and Elton John, I think they're my fathers. They had a love child, and I came out very late.
Sorry to your parents, but
I will say that to my dad all the time. Be like, so my dad's Elton and Bowie, and he'll be like, you realize that I am actually a biological father? And I'm like, but my dad's my spiritual fathers. Getting back to the topic, I really like the name Thursday. I would think I would go with Benny Thursday or something. And I say that to my mom, and she's like, you've always short-formed your name, and now you're just going to change it entirely. But if I was going to have a stage name, I would want to include the artists that I feel have made me who I am.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And you can kind of, work on it over the years, adapt
absolutely.
to who it is. And that's always just fun about being, in the entertainment industry. you get to be someone completely new.
Mm-hmm. Different masks, different hats, as you were saying earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've really used art as a way to know myself better, but also to kind of figure out who I want to be. Like, I think there's this really beautiful quote of somebody, a child said to their parents, "Oh, I want to be an artist," and the parent was just like, "Okay, what do you want to make?" And the kid just looked at them and said, "I want to make different versions of myself." And I thought that was really beautiful, and that's something that's kind of stuck with me over the years of, you know, if you don't like what you're doing today, if you don't feel like yourself today, make a new person. Make a new person, get through the day, and maybe that person's someone that sticks with you.
Nice.
Who knows?
That's a nice quote. I won't ask you what you're doing next, because that is the worst question to ask a fourth-year person.
I'm going to live in the who knows version of that.
But I will ask if you could see yourself in 10 years, really like a decade later. We're going into a new decade, so like 2030. Where, who, what, why, what would you do?
I really wanted to make the joke, I don't have 20/20 vision, but you took that away from me, so anyways.
Sorry.
So 10 years from now...
That's a funny joke.
You're fine. 10 years from now, I'm 31. Well, ideally, it takes steps to get there. Like, I do want to get my master's in stage management, which, again, goes against my whole fight the school system vibe.
I didn't know you want to do that. That's cool.
I have been an academic most of my life, and I feel like I really want to, if anything, just recapture my love of knowledge and my love of learning.
Okay.
But if I was going to get a master's, I think I would go internationally, particularly to England. I have a lot of loved ones there. And in England, the stage management scene is so different that I'd want to get that aspect, that I'd be able to be, again, more well-rounded. So I think after that, which would take a couple of years, you know, ideally I want to be working in musicals. I want to be touring because I love traveling. I love getting that international aspect and sharing the story with different communities who may not have as much musical theater or dance or drama as Toronto or New York or London.
Cool.
If I had, like, my dream...
Yeah, anything.
I really want to work on a revival of American Idiot. I think I've told you this so many times, I think in this political landscape that I won't get into because I have too much to say, in this political landscape, particularly in the United States, I think American Idiot is an excellent portrayal of what the youth are going through right now. And I'd love to work on that, especially because it's such a tech-heavy show. There's a lot of elements that I feel like I would want to, you know, I'd want to make that magic. And I also want to have a show that leans into activism and shows a message that I want to be seen. So, yeah.
I have beef with that show.
You have beef with that show? Tell me why.
Because I love Green Day.
Okay.
I absolutely adore the whole album that they put together. Green Day.
Yes.
But I saw the American Idiot in Toronto a few years ago, and I was like appalled by the choreography of it. And I've always wanted to do it better.
Okay, so I will addend my earlier comment. When I do American Idiot, I will sign my contract with the agreement that Bri Clarke has to redo the choreography.
Let's do it.
And therefore, that will achieve my other 10-year dream of still being in contact with the artists that I've connected with now, still being able to have that unified aspect with my cast that I love.
Let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen. You know, 10 years' time, you guys buy your tickets now. We'll go on sale. I'll give you guys a good discount code. It'll be great.
Who do we cast? Oh my god, let's do a dream
cast. Can I just
cast.
cast John Gallagher Jr. again?
See, this is the thing. Like, who could do it better than him? I don't know.
I have my feelings, and I know he'll be older in 10 years' time, so I'm just gonna go ideally.
He could be St. Jimmy. Why doesn't he be St. Jimmy or something?
He could be St. Jimmy.
Yeah.
Do you want to know who I think Johnny would be? I think you know who I'm gonna say. Andrew Pollack.
Oh, yeah.
Would do such an incredible job.
He would. He would be great. That's a good point.
He would be great. What's her name? What's her name is such a powerful role.
Yeah, Rebecca Noemi Jones.
Oh, she's just incredible. I would want to say...
That cast was really good. I will say the cast was really good.
Stacked.
Stark Sands.
Who went on to Kinky Boots fame.
Elisa Umpress.
Is
that what you're going to say?
Josh Henry.
Yes.
Josh Henry.
Oh my god, I forgot he was in that show.
So stacked. And then...
Oh my god, yeah.
Who was he? He played Hercules Mulligan. He did it on tour.
Yeah, Oak.
Oak.
I won't say his name because I'll butcher it, but Oak.
But we love him, and he does a great job.
Mm-hmm.
That cast was just stacked with talent.
It was insane.
I'm trying to think of... I think somebody I would want for What's Your Name is someone who is currently cast in Six.
Okay.
But I'm trying to figure out...
That could work.
Who. I'm trying to figure out who.
It's got that rock edge.
Courtney Stapleton could do a really good job.
Who does she play?
Courtney Stapleton was a swing.
Oh, okay.
But she was also in Bat. Oh. And she's currently in Dear Evan Hansen. And she's just like, oh, she's so good. I need to show her.
I don't know her.
I'd
like
to videos
check
of
her out. That's awesome. Well, it's going to happen then. It has to happen. 2030
well,
American Idiot revival.
In there.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to get the rights. It'll be great.
Oh, Kat. Thank you for sitting with me today.
No, of course. I'm happy to.
This was so lovely.
Yeah.
Take care.
You too.
Thank you.
I'll see you in 2 minutes.
I know. Thank you so much for listening to the Art Versations podcast. If you like what you heard, subscribe, rate, and leave a review to help the podcast grow. As well, follow the podcast on Instagram at ArtVersationsPod. That's ArtVersationsPod. You'll find photos of each of my guests so you can match a voice to a face. Let's keep the conversation going. DM me with your own thoughts about art, as I would love to hear them. I'm always up for a good old-fashioned chat. Till next time.